1962, President John F. Kennedy proclaimed May 15th as National Peace Officers Memorial Day, and the calendar week in which May 15th falls as National Police Week. Established by a joint resolution of Congress in 1962, National Police Week pays special recognition to those law enforcement officers who have lost their lives in the line of duty for the safety and protection of others. In 2021, the names of 394 officers killed in the line of duty were added to the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial in Washington, D.C. Those 394 officers included 295 officers who were killed during 2020, plus 99 officers who died in previous years, but whose stories of sacrifice had been lost to history until now. Many of us expected that we would be gathering in our nation's capital for National Police Week as we witnessed the name of one of our own being added to the more than 22,000 law enforcement officers who have made the ultimate sacrifice dating back to 1786. But due to public health concerns from COVID, those ceremonies have been rescheduled for October. Tonight, at 8 p.m., the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial Foundation will host a virtual candlelight vigil to memorialize those who sacrificed all for their communities. Although many of us hoped that we would be gathered in Washington, it really wasn't a true hope, because deep in our hearts, we had wished, hoped, and prayed that Officer Al Ray would still be with us, either retired or coming in tonight to work the overnight shift in the 41st year with the police department. But that's not the case, and we can only rely on faith to assure us, to comfort us, and to remind us that the hidden hand of God was present when one of his true guardian angels was called to heaven after answering the call to duty and making the ultimate sacrifice. The rescheduling of events in Washington has given us the opportunity to gather here to pay tribute to Officer Al Ray. When I used to visit Al, when he was heroically facing the challenges caused by the devastating injuries that he received in the line of duty, I had told him that I would do everything I could for him and his family. That's really what a chief's supposed to do, and tonight is part of that promise. Although there are many here who had the honor and privilege of knowing and working with Officer Al Ray, I also realize that there are many who were hired after his passing and only know him as a fallen hero, a name on our memorial that you see when you come to work. If you look at Officer Al Ray's personnel folder, it will note that on March 1st, 1980, he took an oath that all Malden police officers take, that they will perform their duties to the best of their ability in accordance with the rules and regulations of the police department, that they will uphold the laws of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and the ordinances of the City of Malden. But it was the way that he chose to perform those duties that truly defined who he was. There are many dramatic stories and episodes of courage and bravery, along with countless examples of his great kindness and compassion. He was involved in a heroic life-saving rescue at a fire, a gunfight with an armed criminal. He chose to spend most of his career working nights during the overnight hours when danger and evil lurk, when most of the calls are 911 calls, when the risk is great and when backup is crucial. That is where Al Ray chose to serve and protect. Perhaps his willingness to serve where most needed was best exemplified when in the early 1990s, Officer Ray chose to work in a housing development where violence, crime, gangs, guns, and drugs were prevalent. Officer Al Ray's kind of place. The good people there needed him. He became their beacon of hope. His badge was the shield that protected them. With his unique zeal and spirit, he helped reclaim the area for the good people. Here was an officer who put his life on the line for people on the margins of society. An officer who would find himself engaged in a gunfight with a dangerous armed criminal in October of 1993, and who could still be known as the officer who would go to the pharmacy to pick up prescriptions for an elderly woman and to help young children with their homework, or his remaining at the scene of a burglary to calm the fears of a 79-year-old victim, and him taking the time to reconnect the TV and telephone for the grateful victim, who wrote of Officer Ray's great compassion. That's the essence of Officer Al Ray. Officer Al Ray was widely respected for his devotion to duty, his bravery, and his compassion. He received many awards and recognitions during his exemplary career as a Malden police officer. He represented all that is good about the police profession. He personified the very essence of service to others. His professionalism, courage, spirit, zeal, and compassion reflect the highest standards of what being a police officer is all about. The Malden Police Department and the City of Malden continue to owe a tremendous debt of gratitude to him for the way that he consistently answered the call to duty. Neighborhoods became safe because of him. Our city was made better because of him. Our police department was and remains strengthened by him and his memory. We are all blessed and fortunate that such a good and decent man chose to serve Malden, the place where he was born and raised. His memory sustains us. His memory lives on through the service and sacrifices that continue to be made each and every day by the good men and women of the Malden Police Department, who represent what he lived for and gave his life for. His memory remains etched upon our hearts and upon the hearts of the many people whose lives were made safer and better because of him. That his name will be etched upon the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial, along with the thousands who have given all that they had in the service of others, is a fitting tribute to his life and lasting legacy. His memory lives on in each and every one of you who answer the continued call to service each tour of duty. There are some who look to find fault in everything that you do. Those who Scripture refers to as hypocrites, who see the splinter in someone else's eye. They willfully ignore the overwhelming good that you do, the sacrifices that you are willing to make. They look for a splinter rather than look at the strong, enduring tree and forest that is deeply rooted in your service and sacrifice to others. When he first joined the police department back in 1980, Officer Al Ray was immediately given a nickname by one of the more senior officers on the department. He became Aldo Ray, named after a film star from the 50s and 60s, who was noted for his lovable tough guy roles, who coincidentally served as a police constable in Crockett, California, before his acting career began. But Malden police officer Aldo Ray was not a Hollywood actor. He did his own stunts. No one handed him a script. There were no chances to do scenes over again. When Officer Allan Foss Ray was given the name Aldo, he not only accepted it, he adopted it. He wrote his own script, and he did it his own way. He did it Aldo's way. So at this time, I would like Aldo's son, Jesus Montoya, who continues to honor Al with his own service, doing the job that he did. I would ask Jesus to please unveil the sign that we have now put up. It will serve as a reminder to each and every one of you, when you leave this parking lot and when you return, that there's a way to do this job the right way. The way that Aldo Ray did it, the way that you do it, and the way it should be done. You honor him by your service, you honor him by your sacrifice, and you continue to honor him each and every day. Again, I want to thank everybody for attending here. It means a lot to me. What you do every day means a lot to me. And keep up the good work. It's an honor and a privilege to be able to stand here as your chief. And I truly love you for everything you do. And I want you to know that. And it's never, not in my thoughts, particularly now. Okay? So thanks again. Keep up the good work. Al is very proud of everything you do. And that is something that I know absolutely. So just keep it up. All right? Keep the faith. Keep up the good fight. And we'll continue to be the best. All right? Thanks.
Allan Foss Ray Jr.